Fun fact, back in the 90s, right before CDs took over and vinyl faded into the background, companies were doing a lot of interesting things. Take, for instance, the Technics SL-BD22, a slick-looking feature-packed automatic belt drive turntable with an auto-stop feature. Now take a look at this Audio-Technica LP70X, also a sleek, feature-packed automatic belt drive turntable with auto-stop. And using this feels a lot like picking up back where things left off in the 90s, but with none of the hassle and all of the modern quality of life features you would come to expect. This is an average user's experience of the Audio-Technica LP70X. Let's dig in. So I love vinyl because of the intentionality behind how I listen to music. I'm not just throwing on a track from Spotify in the background, I'm making a choice to listen to a specific album or artist and really experience the music. And this record player does that better than any other entry record player in this price range, and that's thanks to a few things: how it feels to actually use it, the ease of install, and the design. Now, it's not going for some sort of retro vibe here. That's reserved for other brands like Fluons, Project, Yamaha, etc. Instead, Audio-Technica is continuing the legacy of those interesting, modernized record players I mentioned at the beginning, thanks to streamlined, clean aesthetics and fun usability. This starts with the overall build. It's got a 3-piece chassis for resonance control, a cool rectangular top piece, a beefy underbody, and sound dampening feet. The buttons are super stable and clicky. There's a button for toggling between 33 and 45 RPM, the Bluetooth pairing button for that specific model, as well as the start and stop functions. We'll talk more about that start-stop function in a second. On the top is the clear plastic dust cover, which I adore because I can watch records spin all day without running it with the top off. Underneath the dust cover is a felt mat with the Audio-Technica logo on it. Personally, at this price point, I would have liked to see a rubber or acrylic mat for better static control, but it's not a deal breaker. On the back are the line and phono toggle, as well as the ports for plugging in the power and RCA, plus the grounding cable. So it sounds kind of reductive, but I just think the build is cool. It's just cool. And I really specifically love this like copper bronze color palette that I have, though it's also available in all black and white as well. And I haven't mentioned the tone arm yet, and that's because it's so awesome that it pretty much takes this turntable in this category from good to great. It's got a J-shaped tone arm with an extremely fun to use lift lever mechanism. The cartridge is Audio-Technica's very own AT-VMP95C dual moving magnet cartridge, which means it's upgradable as well, and I'll talk more about that later on in the video. Even though there's no counterweight, the construction of this tone arm and the lift lever mechanism makes playing records for me so fun. It's so satisfying to take a record out of the cover, place it on the player, then manually adjust the tone arm and lower it with the lever to hear that satisfying as the needle makes contact with the record, clearing you to sit back and just enjoy. To me, this alone makes this record player a better choice than the Audio-Technica LP60X if you don't already have one. But if you already have one and you're wondering if this is worth the upgrade, stay subscribed because I'm working on a video right now comparing the two. So next, I'm going to talk in detail about sound quality, though just a disclaimer, I can't play any audio samples because of obvious copyright issues, but I'm kind of brainstorming right now about some ways I can maybe post some audio samples, so I'll let you guys know when I figure that out. So once the tone arm hit the first record and the music came on, I immediately noticed the familiar warmth of vinyl. The clarity and the musicality that comes through in that analog experience is just, it's super relaxing on my ears. So my assumption going into this was that it wasn't gonna sound that drastically different from other turntables in this price range, and my assumption was mostly correct. While it may sound a little bit better thanks to the stylus out of the box, the difference was marginal. Overall, clarity is really solid, especially if the mix of the vocals is forward. You can hear artists really well in the room. Vocals from Lana Del Rey, Woodkid, Taylor Swift, Glass Animals, or Muse sound very clear. Same goes for the instrumentation. The soundstage was wide and crisp, and I feel like I could hear all of the different instruments in the space quite well, and piano notes especially were really striking. For some songs with different vocalists, I felt like I could hear them in different parts of the room, which was really cool. Midtones were powerful and cut through well, but what really surprised me the most actually was the bass. It was way more pronounced than I expected, especially with a record player. I expected the low end to be a little bit more limited, but it was quite punchy, to be honest. For hip hop or EDM, this means that compared to others in this price range, this is an excellent choice. I tested almost all of the albums on screen now and throughout this video, and I had a really enjoyable listening experience overall. I wasn't ever blown away like the first time I listened to vinyl, but this is gonna be leagues better than any other cheap suitcase style record player or those sub $100 cheap record players you find on Amazon, and bonus, it will not destroy your records like those will. Though I'm working on a comparison between this and the 60X, also from Audio-Technica, I feel like they're very similar, and this maybe has a beat just in the bass, but there's a lot more separating the two besides that. So again, subscribe so you don't miss that video when it goes live. And as I mentioned before, the setup and install for this could not have been easier. It took me like 5 minutes. In the box is the power cable with the AC-DC converter detached to help mitigate any audio interference, as well as the detachable RCA cable, which, thank you, Audio-Technica, for making this detachable. It just makes setup so much easier. And thanks to the built-in phono preamp, no other special audio equipment is needed to get this up and running. Just plug in the included RCA cables directly into some powered speakers or an amp, and the music starts pretty much right away. Just a heads up, if your speakers don't have like a dedicated RCA input, then you may need to pick up an RCA to 3.5mm aux cable. I can leave a link to a recommendation down below in the description, right by that like button, which you should hit if you're getting any value out of this video. There's also a few additional features on this turntable that make it feel more modern and easy to use. Even though the manual tone arm lift lever makes using it more fun, if you want an easy option, the start and stop buttons make the process completely automatic. In fact, not only that, but when the record is finished, it will automatically stop playback, lifting the arm and returning it back to its original position. This saves the stylus from prolonged, unnecessary use and will make it last longer. And as mentioned before, the stylus needle can actually be upgraded. So let's say you end up really loving this hobby. Well, this turntable can kind of serve as a platform for improving your listening experience. You can add a better stylus, you can add a preamp, you can get better speakers, and just slowly upgrade over time from there. The VM95 series of styli from Audio-Technica is robust and offers a pretty unrivaled level of customization in this category. I mean, they offer options up to $200 for just the stylus, which, I mean, if you really want to tune the sound signature, you could turn this into a beast of a player. There's an optional Bluetooth model at an increased price, but I really don't see a reason to spring for that unless you very specifically want to listen to vinyl on like wireless headphones, but lose the analog experience. In any case, this leads me to talk about pricing. At the time of recording, this turntable has fluctuated up to $279 USD, and the Bluetooth model is at $349 USD. To me, this is still a decent value for this entry-level audio experience, especially since competitors have also fluctuated in price. However, it is disappointing that the original MSRP was $199, and it's probably the result of tariffs or market fluctuations or whatever, so I don't know if it will go back down. But even at this price point, it's still competitive in the market, and if you ever see this turntable for below that price, just know it's a great deal and worth snagging. If that price is just a bit too steep, you could step down to the LP70X, but you will lose some of the fun features and the design will be different. I do already have a full review of that turntable. It's gonna be down below in the description. But if you're happy operating in this price range, but you don't like the appearance or you want something a bit more retro, you may also consider the Fluence RT81 or 82. I'll leave links down below as well. Also, it's worth mentioning that in an early batch of production units, there was an issue affecting a small number of models that caused records to skip, and unfortunately, one of our units was impacted. However, Audio-Technica has since rectified that issue. It shouldn't be impacting any models that are out there in the wild, theoretically, and for our part, it was really, really easy to send in for repair. Audio-Technica provided a box for shipping, and all of the instructions, it was super painless. So I just wanted to mention that, but again, Audio-Technica has since fixed this issue, and it shouldn't affect any other models if you were to go buy one right now. At the end of the day, this is not an audiophile turntable, but for someone new to vinyl or for casual listeners, this is probably one of the best options out there in this price range. The LP70X stands apart from other brands in its approach, since other companies went more retro with their design philosophies. It feels different, like a modernized take, the perfect blend between history and convenience. It provides an authentic experience, a more intentional way to listen to music without the hassle. There's also this feeling that you're part of the legacy of vinyl, picking up where things left off in like the 80s and 90s, in that weird experimental era, right before CDs mostly killed it. Does it sound markedly better than other turntables in this price range? Maybe a little bit. But does it enhance the experience of using records versus other types of music listening? Absolutely. It's good enough for me that it's going to replace my Sony turntable that I've used for 4 years. And despite the price fluctuations, I still think it's an excellent option for anyone interested in vinyl records. For comparison between this and the LP60X, or if you're looking for a great pair of speakers to pair with this turntable, take a look at the videos on the screen now. And if this video was helpful at all, I would really appreciate it if you could help support the channel by liking the video, subscribing if you want to see more videos like this, and letting me know your thoughts in the comments down below. Thank you so much for watching.